Good evening, gentlemen, on this grey day in Suffolk on the 13th of February. And I might add, the bard William Shakespeare said, April is the cruelest month. I think it's February.
Yes, good evening, Viv. Good evening, Fordy. Yeah, February's pretty grim. Unless you're living in the Southern Hemisphere, I suppose.
Yeah.
The cruelest month. That's. I've heard it as a depressing month, but why is it the cruelest month then?
April is the cruelest month. You know what? I don't know why the bard said that.
It must have been contextual because April is one of my favourite months of the year.
Yeah, I love it.
Should be every Englishman's favourite month, especially the 23rd.
Oh, it wasn't. It wasn't Shakespeare. It was T.S. Eliot in a poem, "The Wasteland."
All right.
Okay.
It reads, April is the cruelest month, breeding lilacs out of the dead land, mixing memory and desire, stirring dull roots with spring rain. Winter kept us warm, covering. Well, I don't know about that, Mr. Elliot.
Yeah, what was he on? What was that geezer on?
Yeah. Some very good whiskey, I think. Yeah, I think some very good whiskey.
Yeah.
Nish Patel has narrowly got in.
Oh, has it been confirmed?
It's been confirmed, is it?
It seems so, yeah.
Yeah, I know Tulsi was. Nice. I heard RFK Jr. was as well.
Yeah.
So good news. Good. Let the fun and games begin.
Yeah, I think he's quite an important one. I get a feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm just trying to confirm this. Actually, I shouldn't really look on the BBC because it is the most clear and obvious example of misinformation. I'm looking at this. I don't know. It doesn't say. Don't quote me on that, please, gentlemen.
Unfortunately, we're recording this, so you've quoted it yourself. No, but I know RFK has been confirmed. I think that was an hour ago or so.
Yeah.
But I don't think there was much worry about that one.
No, definitely. You're right. You're quite right there. I've noticed. Yeah.
I'm looking on Telegram. There's nothing that I can see on Telegram.
No, I'm wrong. It's Kennedy, and Kennedy after Tulsi Gabbard was confirmed as Director of National Intelligence.
Oh yes, indeed. Yes. Yeah, that's another good one.
Yeah,
it may be Kash Patel's got through a preliminary hearing. I think I did see that. So his actual
some of the shouts and screams that, not screams, but they were getting very angry at that preliminary, whatever it was today. I was very interested in listening to a few of those.
Yeah.
Oh, they're just making such fools of themselves. They really are. Now it's becoming so obvious who's guilty. The ones that are screaming the loud. They're not only pointing the finger at themselves, but they're making themselves look so stupid.
It's funny, isn't it? This BBC report, I quote, lawmakers are also expected to take up the nomination of Kash Patel, Trump's controversial choice to lead the Federal Bureau of Investigation after the pick received approval from a key committee on Thursday. So there you go.
Yeah, so we'll probably. I think that's the actual confirmation will be in the next few days, I would imagine. And it is interesting, as I mentioned to you, for the Tulsi Gabbard. I understood, or I read that she was the 14th of Trump's picks to be confirmed. And there have since been two more confirmations, RFK Jr. and another one that I'd never heard of. So that brings it up to 16. So just imagine
stop toying with me.
If Kash Patel became the 17th confirmation, that would just
that would be very cool. I love getting into these things float around all the time, and I know you've sent me things and I've sent you things, and uh, I think we're both in agreement. We don't get too excited about it because it kind of has been happening ever since 2017, so you kind of get used to it. But even I, for the last couple of days, have been thinking, back in the day, or not back in the day, sorry, about a year ago, people were talking about Kash Patel and could he have been Q? And if he wasn't Q, is he the one that wrote the algorithm for the Q program? And so I've been dancing with the idea that when he gets confirmed, I'm going to put the old Q maps up, because I reckon if he is anything to do with it, that will be the time that Q would sort of go back to saying, "Hi guys, we're back," or something crazy like that.
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
there was something going on with 8chan the last couple of days as well. From
Yeah.
some anon people were talking about it. There was a countdown on 8chan, and then it just said came up with a message, a very Q-ish type message. I don't know the details, and I don't really know what they were talking about, but some were speculating, some anons were speculating they're setting it up for Q to start posting again.
No,
Guess we'll
what it
see.
was, no, it was a bit of a bust. It was a bit of a, what do they call that? A rug pull. What it was it was launching the 8chan Bitcoin thing. Oh, sorry, cryptocurrency. So the countdown made everyone believe it was going to be a Q post, got everyone watching it, and when it got to 0, it was welcome to 8chan cryptocurrency, or whatever they've called it.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, what the yeah. Some anons were also saying maybe this is a thing to refocus people back onto Q, because everyone was speculating it's going to be about Q posting again. Where like you say, it was probably just about this Bitcoin thing that they're doing. Who knows? I mean, anons can be a bit trigger happy sometimes when it
Yeah.
comes to Q, I think.
The thing is, I think everyone's been holding on for so many years. That's the thing. None of us are spies. None of us have been taught to be spies, but we've all kind of felt like we've had this inside, sort of inside spy network contacting us personally, sort of idea. And I think that's it. The twitchiness is because no one really knows what we're doing, what we're talking about. We're talking about this entity that told us lots of things that seem to have all come true, but no one really knows what the heck is going on with it, or what it's all about. And I think that's, I love my sci-fi and fairy tales. I'm really into that sort of as an escapism, and to a certain extent, that's what the whole Q thing has become, hasn't it? It's become a fairy tale, spoken about in small circles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right.
I guess you're sort of just changing things back over to the UK about this this health minister, the story which has come out about her, the UK health minister. What's her name?
What is
Abby
that?
somebody. That she people have been digging up things that she said in the past, as people do, and she's completely on board with all this woke gender stuff, and she's been saying that, oh, it's okay for people to identify as llamas, and she believes that there's a million or whatever
Oh,
genders, and she's getting the piss ripped out of her, sorry, for
She's the
it.
Sama
And
Lama, isn't she?
yeah.
oh, good one. Yeah. Sama Lama. Yes, I do. I do remember that. I posted a little bit about that, a little note about that.
What I also like about this house minister is how healthy she looks, because she really does inspire everyone to be healthy. And it's the same as the ex-American one. You couldn't have got a more healthy person. Do you know what I
Yes,
mean?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
/ sarcasm, I believe
Yeah.
should go with that. But well, it was like
I
that
think that
that one that was the one that was sorry, the one that was appointed in Belgium, and she was, to be frank, morbidly obese. Um, And I think the issue is not just physical health. I think it's mental health as well, which is in question.
That's
Yeah,
the
I
woman that just
was.
lit like a big toe. Yeah.
Yeah, you've said it for me. I was about to mention her, the Belgian health minister. Ah, crazy, but fat pride and all this. I'm sorry about that if people are overweight and whatever. It's fine to be overweight, but is it fine to be overweight? I mean, morbidly obese in that sense, and then to dictate to other people? I don't think so. You know.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a fine line because I think to be overweight, you can be overweight, but there is a line you cross where it's absolutely not healthy for you to be carrying so much excess weight around. I think that's the bottom line. And and there's been this push amongst the wokerati in recent years to say no, it's fine. You can be overweight, you can be unhealthily overweight, and that is just not right. But
Yeah, yeah.
on the other hand, kind of social pressure on people to be fit and slim and healthy is probably not the best it could be either. So,
Yes, yes, but sense has gone out of the room. It's
yes.
all about it, it's about your individual kind of thing. How can I put it? I identify as this. I mean, does anyone actually identify as being overweight when they're not? That'd be interesting,
It's
wouldn't it?
identify. I think that's just I identify as this. That's it's just complete nonsense. It's just leading people down a completely wrong path. I think to say it's okay to identify. Going back to the UK health minister, it's okay to
That's right.
identify as
Yeah,
a llama.
yeah.
So,
That's right.
so what does that mean? Llamas. So if I identify as a llama. Llamas don't pay council tax. Llamas don't pay taxes. Llamas, there's lots of things that llamas don't do. So if I identify as a llama, is it okay for me to just say, right, I'm not doing any of these things. I'm not paying these taxes. I'm not paying my
Yes.
license fee. It's just absolute nonsense. It really is.
Well, we use it against them. I keep on saying, destroy the enemy with their own weapons.
I was just going to say roughly the same. Yeah.
I mean, it's okay that a public minister, the has said it's okay to identify as a llama. So okay, so I'm a llama. Do llamas have to pay council tax? Do they have to pay PAYE? Do they have to pay any taxes at all? Don't they get their food
Can I,
for free?
can I spit at police officers and get away with it?
Can I just walk into a supermarket and pick up a bag of hay or something and walk out?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is that if you say I identify as a llama, and llamas don't pay council tax, and I'm stopping paying my council tax, if the authorities come down on you and you have to go to court, you think that's going to stand up in court? Of course not. you, you won't get away with that in a court of law. So right there is the contradiction.
If you're really clever, you identify as an endangered species. That way, you don't have to
Ooh,
have any of the taxation of a human being, but you get actually more rights than a human being. So go for a Bengal tiger or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I like it. I like it. The thing is,
Mm.
men go to court. There's a current case going on about um, a, a trans man who's been in the NHS and using NHS changing facilities, who's also a doctor, which is kind of interesting in itself. And someone objected and said, "Oh, there's a man in the women's changing rooms," and so it's gone to court. So, well, not why not? You know, someone could shout at me. I go into somewhere and oh, it's okay. I'm a llama, and I'm taken to court, and I'm saying, "Well, I'm a llama." You know, the health minister said it's okay. Yeah, no,
Yeah. and you just drop
Well, yeah,
trowel and take a shit right in the courtroom because a llama would. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, for
just
sure.
spit at everybody. Yeah, just spit at everyone. Llamas do that.
They do
actually,
apparently. Yeah, they
pull-
do. They're camels. They're sort of camels, aren't they? Yeah.
pulling it back out of the absolute ridiculousness of this country, but sticking with nurses, did you two see the two Australians admitting to killing Israelis?
I saw the story.
No.
I didn't read the headline. I saw the headline. I didn't read the story. I didn't need to read the story. I know pretty much what it was. But
Yeah, it's
the
harrowing,
two,
Yeah.
and I think it's going to wake up a lot of people worldwide. I mean, yes, it was in Australia, but as I've said to a couple of people around here, I genuinely probably have quite a phobic feeling towards the NHS. I feel very wary, shall we say, of going to the NHS. But with these two doctors, they're basically on a call to someone, and there's someone introduces himself to them, and as soon as he says who he is, you can see the hatred in both of their eyes. And it's well worth watching both of you, just because it's immediate. The change is immediate, and they say, "Oh, if you came to our hospital, we'd kill you. We've already been killing people like you. You people deserve to be in hell." And yes, that's harrowing, but you suddenly realise, shit, how many of those are in the NHS and are actually doing that? And I think those two probably have killed people, and it's damn, it's kind of things like that I've spoke about for a long time, but it's another one of those things that when they actually show it to you and it's real, you get this really real stomach churning feeling that, damn, we don't want everyone to be scared to go to see a doctor. This is crazy.
Yeah. I'm reading about this now. My goodness.
well, I
My
like you, 4D.
goodness.
I have major reservations now about anything to do with the NHS, and that's primarily because of COVID, what we've been through with
Yeah.
COVID, and now it's just like, oh, okay, I really I don't trust the health service anymore, or certainly not as much as I used to.
And
The
it's not a
NHS.
great place to be societally. It's really a
No.
bad place to be. But I understand, and I'm
Mm.
with you. It was exactly COVID that suddenly I had this big wake up, and I was like, oh my god, I can't. Yeah. I suddenly got really scared of going to the NHS.
I mean, you got assisted dying. It's going to go through soon. So it's
Hmm.
not really the NHS, it's the NDS now, I'm afraid to say. It's sad, but it's the National Death Service. They topped a load of people during COVID. So, how many murderers are walking free in the corridors and the wards of hospitals and in GP surgeries? They gave people, they stabbed them up with an experimental drug, which people had already warned them about. And I'm not talking about just Joe down the pub, but scientists. Now, as if we take
Mm.
scientists seriously now as well. That's another class of people who are now under suspicion. But certainly nurses, when I see a nurse go by, when I see a doctor, I haven't been to a doctor for years, when I see an ambulance hurtling along, probably to pick up a COVID vaccine injury, of which there are an undisclosed number, but I know they're happening. Yeah, anecdotally. Then I just think, oh, there they go, the NDS on a mission to slot someone. And it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying.
National. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that that brings to mind, 4D, that Neil Oliver video you sent, where he was talking about they're announcing this sometime in a couple of months. They're going to have a national COVID appreciation day where they're
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
to where they're going
Got
to
that.
pay homage to all of the health service and all this sort of stuff, and all these people who did this during COVID, and the nurses and the key workers and blah blah blah, and he was just livid about it, and he went on a rant about it, and everything he said was just spot on. How just completely they're still spitting in our faces about it.
Yeah, I
We
was
need,
going to call it the National Holocaust System, but
yeah.
Mm.
Ooh, steady, 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 steady. Ooh, yeah. Well, okay, I didn't know about this National COVID Appreciation. So, well, it calls for a campaign. We go out with buckets of blood and chuck them around. You know,
Maybe 4D, if you still have the link to that, you can chuck it up on here so Viv can see it.
please
yeah,
do.
yeah,
This week.
okay.
Please do. I'm sorry to sound so extreme, but I feel that we've been so badly portrayed.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to encourage criminality, but what was done was criminal. You know.
Yeah,
Mm.
oh, no doubt, no doubt. On such a huge scale, a huge, huge scale.
Yeah, yeah. Gaslighting people, shocking, absolutely shocking.
Mm.
But now that's what I expect. I'm not shocked anymore.
Well, let's hope things are in motion now, to start revealing all of this. Um, it seems like certain things are in motion. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, did you also see the Pelosi and the strange bunch that were outside of the US aid thing, demanding entry?
Yes,
They're looking ridiculous. That's the great thing.
they look sinister and ghoulish.
Mm.
Yes, she's always
Ghoulish or
looked
good?
ghoulish, actually.
Yeah, always, but even more so perhaps. But yeah, yeah. Take your
Was that
point.
the one where was that the one with the security guard just standing there and there's Maxine Waters going, tell us who you are, blah, 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 blah," and they're
Yeah.
rattling the doors and he's just standing there like poker faced, not giving an inch. Yeah, I think that was the Department of Education. You know who I am? I'm a
Oh.
member of Congress. Blah 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 blah. It's like, yeah, that's why you're not coming in.
Thanks, 4D. We got that YouTube clip.
Oh, brilliant.
And Neil Oliver, they're rubbing our noses in it.
Yeah,
I love him. He's got a great way of talking as well.
yeah. He speaks really well, and you can see he doesn't seem to. Is he reading off an auto cue? It's just so smooth. I don't know. I think it's just coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, I think it's just coming out of his mouth. Yeah.
Mm. So the Australians nurses, one of whom claims to be a doctor, tells this Israeli fella that he has beautiful eyes, but adds, "I'm sorry, you're Israeli," before saying he sends Israeli to, to Jahaman, an Islamic place akin to hell. He makes a throat slitting gesture before a woman comes on screen and says, "One day, the Israeli fella's time will come and that he will die," later adding that she won't treat Israelis. "I won't treat them, I will kill them."
So just to be clear, this is on a kind of a Zoom call thing, is it? Is this an
Yeah.
official medical
Mm,
channel or something?
No, that's the
So
thing.
no,
I think
no,
the I
no.
think the Israeli guy is trolling and trying to find people. That's what I would assume is happening. He's found these two because the look in his face, he goes with it, and he kind of goads them to say more. Um, Sorry about that.
It's apparently been shared on TikTok. I don't know the provenance. I can't find the origin of this video.
yeah,
So we can,
I
yeah,
mean,
we can take it with a pinch of salt, especially because it's
mm,
on the BBC. So we're not kind of sure about that really. It's
the
anything
BBC
posted, yeah, anything
yeah.
posted on the BBC is suspect.
Yeah, but I would have thought they wouldn't want to highlight stuff like that, which I presume they are kind of okay with in their in their outlook, which is a bit weird. Yeah, and I'm just wondering how it came about. That's all. Why? How were these two people talking over the internet to people? Was it a private conversation, or was it some kind of podcast, or what?
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't worry. I mean, under Section 180 of the Online Safety Act, recognized so-called recognized news publishers, licensed broadcasters, and all mainstream media outlets, including the British Broadcasting Corporation, cannot commit an offence under Section 179, absolving them from publishing what they know to be misinformation or disinformation. So that's a get out clause. 179 is the false communications offence. When a person commits an offence, if A, the person sends a message that B, conveys information that the person knows to be false, and C, at the time of sending it, the person intended the message or information in it to cause non-trivial psychological or physical harm to a likely audience, and D, the person has no reasonable excuse for sending the message. The mainstream media are absolved from that clause of 179.
Well,
See
quite
how it
obviously, they are with regarding
See how it
the
works?
BBC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they have their their so-called BBC Verify service, which is meant to combat so-called misinformation and disinformation, but it does exactly the opposite. It just reinforces propaganda, which is, for the most part, not true.
Yes, because they're absolved from the strictures that have been placed on other platforms and publishers under the Online Safety Act of 20. Let me just refer to this. It's 2023. That bill was passed. Okay. I'm quoting from Simon Elmer's book, The Great Replacement, which I've just received and have started reading. It's subtitled Conspiracy Theory or Immigration Policy, and it's absolutely fascinating.
Sorry, I disappeared there. I don't ever get calls, but someone called me. So I lost what you were summing up there.
Yeah, I was summing up about the Online Safety Act of 2023, Online Safety Act, which absolves under Section 180 of the Act, recognised news publishers, licensed broadcasters, and all mainstream media, including the BBC. So they cannot commit offence under this section of 179, and it absolves them from publishing what they know to be misinformation or even disinformation. So they can spout any old rubbish.
Mm.
And they do.
And they do,
Yeah,
indeed.
that much is obvious. I think we're all aware of that.
Yep. So there we go. One rule for thee and one rule for me.
Yeah.
It's a
Where's it going to
farce.
end, eh?
It's a farce,
It is a
gentlemen. It'll end in those who resist, those who even criticize this fascistic government of Starmer as being declared domestic terrorists. I tell you.
Well, I was going to say it ends when everyone realises these facts, and with all the BBC skewering it and all the Sky News skewering it, but the knowledge is getting out there. It's been, and I think we've said it several times. I think that's why we're all getting so down and so confused with it, because it is so obvious to the ones that had already understood what was going on, and for me, it's just highly infuriating, or it's taxing on my brain, waiting for everyone to catch up, and still being shouted down by people when I say, oh yeah, I'm into Trump, and then the way they look at me, or if I say that the government's corrupt, the way they look at me like I'm crazy. I still get that from people, and it still blows my mind. My mind.
Yeah. Me
This
too.
idea of a drone is frighteningly real. You know, these ideas of zombies, and sometimes I walk out there and I get I get terribly angry in my head because I just see all these zombies walking by, and I think, how the heck do you wake these people up? It's not fair on them. It's not fair on me.
It's not fair on anyone.
No,
Sorry
no.
to recap that for D. I was quoting that information about the online
Safety
the
bill.
online Safety Act
Oh,
of 2023, and I've just received today Simon Elmer's short book called The Great Replacement, which explores immigration policy. Is subtitled Conspiracy Theory or Immigration Policy, and it's totally packed with facts taken
right.
from government figures. And you cannot really dispute this. He's not making this up, and it's shocking, including UN figures, including the reasons why. Okay, he takes a left-wing stance on this, so it's in that sense, it's more about economics, okay, rather than culture. Although he does touch on the culture as well, and that's why it's called the Great Replacement, which is that Kalergi plan idea. But it's mostly about economics, which is really interesting because we don't really hear about this. We hear about these poor, these poor people. They're fleeing oppression. Elmer's saying, no, 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 they can't be because they don't. We don't know who they are for a start. If they come in boats, we don't know who they are. They've thrown their passport away. We have no idea who they are. You know. So yeah, he's basing it around actual government figures and looking at UN policies, various globalist declarations, and things that the British government have signed up for, and are implementing. ECHR, all that is mentioned in this book, and looks to be
Really,
fascinating.
I'm sure
Looks,
I've heard someone else talking about this book. So,
yeah,
and I know someone else was saying it was very in depth and good.
this is
But
going to be. I think this is going to be. I mean, okay, think I think it's self-published. I'm not sure, and it did cost 15 quid. But I've heard it's one of the best books for factual, information. And I have already posted on my Substack, which nobody's bloody commented on. Okay, it shows how scared everyone is about this. Nobody's commented on this, and I've written a piece and then quoted from the book, and then. But there you go. I do what I can. All right.
well, I was thinking of the Germans today. I, obviously, I spent 15 years in Germany, and I'd like to think I got to know the German public reasonably well because I spoke the language, and my wife was German, and obviously my son is half German. But and so I was in Germany from 1995 for 15 years after, so 1995 to 2006. The, I found that
Isn't that
the
10 years?
German.
Sorry,
Go on.
4D, isn't that 10 years or 11 years? Sorry.
Sorry, what did I say? 10 years?
No, you
I
said
was
15.
yeah, no,
Sorry, no.
15 years from
Yeah,
1995 to 2006. Oh, I
yeah,
see.
11
That's
years.
not. Yeah, sorry. Look, maths isn't good with me tonight. Let's just go with it.
Well,
I
you're
was in
such a
Yeah,
Germany for
sorry, I think.
some time.
you're, you're such a pedant, Bronze.
Sorry, I couldn't
Um,
resist it. I didn't want to derail you. Please carry
I
No,
know,
it's
I
all good.
know.
It's all good.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
found the Germans, totally lost my train. Oh, the Germans were still a very apologetic people, and when I got to know my wife's family and learning German, so I had to really concentrate on what it was saying. But I got this realization that Germans were still very embarrassed at what had happened after the Second World War. They were frightened to say anything bad about anyone. You still got the working class kind of uh, putting people down kind of gang kind of stuff, but nothing you wouldn't see in any other country. And is it today they had this another big sort of a car drove into 10 people, killing 10 people, and then I see the German government, the far right, saying how how their country has been taken over and this is happening. I think, don't quote, it was some, I think it was 25 stabbings every day, and they're not used to having stabbings, and this, they were talking about the replacement, and I feel so sorry for Germans because, and also, if I feel sorry for them because they're so, they have to be, they have to walk on eggshells much more than any of us, but also if they've got to the point where they're starting to say it, this is where I realize that Europe is this is why it's so bad. We're on the brink of a big change because it's gone so drastically wrong.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I've become very wary of in recent times is they always use the emotional hook with a lot of these stories. They try and just get their hooks into your emotion to try and change the way you perceive things, um, and it's really pervasive. They do it
Mm,
all the time, and so every time I see a story like this, I just try and always avoid the emotional angle because. If that car thing that you mentioned, is that Munich? Was it this
yes,
Afghan
yeah,
asylum seeker drove a car into people again? Um, and and you just know that they're going to come out and try and spin it by using emotions, by triggering people's emotions. And I'm sure the German people, as you mentioned, because of the war, that has been a massive part of shaping their psyche post-war. The whole emotional angle. You must feel guilty.
yeah,
You must be apologetic. You're not allowed to question things. Um, but yes, I mean, when I saw that story, I kind of thought, another one. Here we go again. How much longer is this going to go on before people really just get past that? And so I don't care if you call me far right. I don't care if you call me this, that, or the other. This is so obviously not right, and things need to change.
yeah. And I think they've been the German people have been taken for a right forward because of that guilt situation. I would say their culture is probably going to have changed the most out of all of us because they had to let everyone in, because the idea of a German government turning someone away, straight away you get lumbered with the whole Hitler thing, and it's ridiculous. Um, and like you, I take the emotion out of it, Bronze. I should have a lot of I should dislike the Germans a lot, but it's got nothing to do with emotion. What's happening to all of us is just wrong, as you say. It's absolutely wrong.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes, the German another car driving into people, but
Yeah. And I'm
yeah,
fed up with them. I'm fed up with them saying they're waiting to find out if it's a terror threat or not. If you drive a fucking car into a group of people, that is terrorist. Period. It terrorizes people. So that's the end of the conversation. We don't need to find out if he or she was a terrorist. They are performing a terrorist act.
I'd go
Well,
even
one
further. I'd quickly go even further, and I know this will make me sound like some nutter, but the British government is a terrorist organisation because they terrify us all the time.
Yes, yeah, true, true.
Well, yeah. I mean, one thing about that the car incident was I was quite surprised at how quickly they released the identity of the perpetrator.
Mm.
It was sort of out there immediately with the story. The driver has been identified as an Afghan asylum seeker, and I thought that that's a bit.
Excuse me, a failed
Yes,
asylum
yeah.
seeker.
Well, yeah, even more so, even more so. Um, but it's in with regards to the British government being you know a terrorist organisation. You could probably say that about a lot of governments because I mean governments basically rule the people with
Fear.
laws. Okay.
Mm.
And people are most people will agree with most laws. Yeah, that's sensible. That's common sense. But the ultimate penalty for breaking the law is a penalty of fear. It's a penalty of going to prison. being punished some way, either financially or with your freedom. So the whole system of law is based on fear. Anyway, it's kind of a terrorist. If you want to take the grander view, is we are being terrorized to follow laws
Of course,
because under
and of course, and there are natural laws. There are natural laws. You don't go and kill people. Yeah, that's one of the major laws. There are certain laws. What the laws we're getting now are not natural laws. They're weird, politically imposed laws that suit a certain how can we say, a drive in society. It's molding and pushing society in a certain direction. Things like there is this thing called non-crime hate speech. What the actual hell is that supposed to be? Non-crime hate
Well,
speech.
yeah, see, that's where you get to when you've had 20 years of ridiculousness. I was saying the same about speeding fines. Laws were based on you do something wrong to someone, so that someone has been needs to have justice. When you speed on a road, there isn't you haven't wronged anyone, and even that was a stretch of laws. So to get to where we are now, where you have a non-crime hate incident,
Speech,
even the four
speech,
words
4D.
together.
Non
Sorry, go on.
non-crime hate speech. Non-crime hate
Speech.
speech.
Yeah,
Speech.
well, again, it's like victimless crime, and if in the title it says non-crime, that's where it should end.
Yeah,
Non-crime, so
yeah.
it's not a crime, so just forget it. Um, just checking the clock. We've been going for like 43 minutes. Should we have a break in the recording and then come back?
Yeah. All right.
Sorry, I came to a stop there because I thought we've come to an end on that, but it's the same with everything. Everything is so great. You've got people we've talked about people with llamas. We've talked about the mass killing of people in cars. Everything is just getting so crazy. It's that crying out for what? Why are we so lost? And it's because we are so controlled, and that's the realization that every one of us and them out there has got to come to terms with before we can come together peacefully. And that's always the thing as well. I I'd love to say, oh yeah, we all need to grab baseball bats and get out there and beat it, but it won't. I come from violence, but that doesn't solve anything, and that wouldn't solve it this time. It's two wrongs don't make a right. You don't fight fire with fire, whatever you want to say. None of what we say is about violence. I want a peaceful resolve to
Yeah.
this, but but don't think that means I'm a weak person, and don't think English people are weak people just because we want peace.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm. What does concern me is the the boiling frog analogy. It's like if and I think putting a frog in a pan of water and then applying heat very slowly, and it doesn't realize that things are warming up and it's boiling. And I think we're kind of in that situation. People are just, it's been so gradual. It's like death by a thousand cuts, and it's happening over such a period of time that people just become accustomed to it bit by bit by bit. But by the same notion, surely that frog is going to get to a point where it realizes, my God, it's way too hot in here, and it's going to try and escape.
Yeah,
Is
of course. Yeah.
there's got to be like a critical mass, if you like.
This
And
is what
but
yeah, this is why people aren't paying their council tax now. There's a movement. You know.
That's an
mm,
interesting one, and a lot of people are getting on board, which I find brilliant because there's actually I think you yourself Viv, have posted a few things about it, but I think there is actual legal precedence for not having to pay council tax if your elections have been cancelled. And I think a lot of people have, this kind of loophole has been filtered out there, and a lot of people have seen it. And when a lot of people are struggling, that sounds like a great idea, and that's really going to kick it in the heads of the government. I like what's going on.
I really like it. I mean, I haven't paid for 2 years. Yeah. Let me think. Nearly. Yeah. Getting on nearly 2 years in May. I haven't paid
And
council tax.
I think there is a campaign trying to gain momentum to come April, the cruelest of months, for people to withhold, in protest. And I've started following this group on Telegram who are, it's all about boycotting council tax. And there's a lot of very interesting information there, but it is like a kind of a fire hose. It's just there's so much coming at you, and a lot of people contradicting each other, putting up information, saying no, that's not right if you do this, and people telling their own stories. So it's kind of helpful, but not helpful at the same time. But there is a very strong feeling growing about that, and the point being made is, if you say you shouldn't say you're refusing to pay.
No.
You should say you're withholding it for certain reasons.
That's right.
And that's a different. And legally, that's different. If you say you're just flat out refusing to pay, then you probably don't have a chance of getting anywhere with it.
Don't do that. Never do that. I don't.
Mm.
My tactic, and we all in Stand. A lot of us aren't paying, and we haven't been doing this for a long time. The thing not to do is to first of all, don't say you're not paying. Don't say, whatever you do, don't say I refuse to pay. But secondly, my approach is not to engage at all with them. Not to engage at all. If you've just moved into a place and the council tax, these grasping criminals, basically the grasping criminals, the mafia attempt to extort money from you, and they don't know your name, that's illegal. You throw them in the bin. If it's addressed to the occupier, if it's not addressed to your name, don't. Just ignore, throw it in the bin. Secondly, if it is addressed to your name, that's not your name, that's your slave name, which you've given on your birth certificate. Do not reply with your name.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole point about certain things being against the law is kind of a bit of a moot point, because council tax in itself is against the law.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Obviously, but that doesn't hold any water if you go to court and lay it all out. They're not going to have that. They're not going to accept that. So,
they will accept it. They will accept it. There hasn't been a magistrates. Magistrates have thrown out council tax attempts to extort council tax from people. There hasn't been a successful one since, I think, if I'm quoting a maven who knows about sovereign the sovereign project, 2003. But you have to get it right. You have to get it right. You can't just go in and say, "Oh, I'm not bloody paying this." No.
Well, this is a downside which I've noticed from this Telegram group is all the conflicting information, and some people saying what you're saying, Viv, and other people saying, "Oh no, well I did this and I tried that and blah 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 and it didn't work out. They still got me, or they did this. They came and repossessed my car, or they're doing this thing. I can't remember what it's called now. It's an acronym where they can take the money if you're on PAYE, if you're not self-employed, they can directly take the money from they can go to your employer and take the money from your paycheck. They can repossess, if you own your own property, they can repossess your house, or they can make you quote unquote bankrupt, and all of these tactics that they use. So it is a minefield. It's a deadly minefield for sure.
Just don't engage.
But also don't forget that half of, if not more, of those posts will be bots just scaring people into
Yep.
not trying it.
Yep,
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
totally right. Correct. Yeah, I mean, we can take this further. What we're exploring now, I think I said last week, is to make yourself an affidavit. Get yourself away from the state. It's going to be difficult, but you can do it. It costs a little bit of money, but lodge an affidavit with the courts, and then they won't be able to touch you. Now, I'm in the early stage. We're all in our meetings, monthly meetings about Sovereign Project. We're in the early stages of this. Affidavits are difficult. You need to know a notary, of which there are only 280 in the country, apparently, roundabout. But you need to somehow get yourself away from the system. Part of the thing is, that you don't use your name. You don't use your slave name. John Smith. Don't use that name on your birth certificate. You are your middle name. You're John David Smith. Your name is John David of the family Smith. They won't have your slave name then.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
why
Yeah,
I'm into 4D, as I've said. I'm
Yeah,
4D. And everyone
absolutely.
Lord Ford.
or
Yeah.
Lord Ford to the TV people. Yeah. Oh, and in fact, they must have had an influx of money, because I've had 2 letters in the last 2 weeks from the TV company again saying they're going to send someone round, and I haven't had any letters from them for a long time. So they must be trying to get claw some money back.
Yeah, no, bring it on. Bring it on.
Yeah. I don't even
Yes,
have the ability to watch TV here, other than
No.
I don't have the ability to watch it.
Nor do I. Nor do I, mate. Be careful of iPlayer, though. They're trying to get you on that now.
I don't even use that, buddy.
No, I don't, mate.
yeah, I mean, I guess the trying to extricate yourself from the system with your slave name, because I mean that's what you've used all your life up until recently, I presume. So
Yeah.
that name is everywhere now,
I
with
know.
regards to you. So it's that one's quite complex, I should imagine.
It is complex, but it's doable. People have done this. There's a British movement now coming out, the Australian. I have the details, the website details, and everything, and it gives you affidavit templates. You can make them up. You have to get everything right. You have to get everything right, and then you lodge it with the court.
Here's one for you. If the truth is that we're all born as slaves, now, so if we're born as slaves, why can I go to a courtroom with my birth certificate and ask to buy my birth certificate back, i.e., buy my slavery?
No,
I think
From the government.
I think
no, you
I
can't.
think
No, no,
I think you
can't.
can, because the birth certificate you have isn't your actual birth certificate, it's just a copy. And I understand that you can actually request your real birth certificate.
No, you
Um,
misunderstand me. So if I had a second-hand car, if I've got the logbook, I am in charge of buying and selling that car. If I am a slave to the government, if I go to a court and say, I know I'm your slave, I request, how much will it cost me to buy my freedom? Now they're going to have to answer because, and does that then give is that how I give away to people that we're all slaves? Because they would have to honor or dishonor that, and how would they deal with that? With me going to a courtroom saying, hello, I'm slave Ian Ford, I was born on this date, here's my birth certificate, I would like to buy my freedom, how much will that cost me? Are they going to give me a
That's
they would probably
interesting.
begin by denying the fact that you're a slave.
then
What
that
you
would be cool. Then I've won either way. If I can get them to write down, oh no, it's all right, Mr. Ford, you're not a slave. Thank you very much. Can you write that down? I am now
Yeah,
free of all of the debt.
yeah, I know.
what you would probably need is a very, very good solicitor who is completely on board with what you're trying to do, which would help.
Yeah,
um,
we have a
I think
solicitor
I think
here.
I'd try that myself.
We have at least one solicitor here. So yeah, we're gradually getting our shit together, as they say. But it isn't easy. It really isn't. You know.
Well, ask your solicitor friend. Say you've got a friend who wants to buy his freedom from the government. Ask him what he thinks of that.
Yeah, yeah. It's a her. I haven't seen her
Oh,
for
her.
about.
Sorry.
I haven't seen her for about 2 years, but yeah, she's there. I know where she works and everything, and you know, she used to come to Stand as well. Um, I just honestly think that the Sovereign Project is the way to go. It does offer a way out, and the
Yeah.
whole affidavit thing appears to work. But it's not easy. It's not easy.
What is an
You've got
affidavit?
an affidavit, legally, yeah. Yes, I could tell
You,
you. I
you
can
can, oh,
tell
right,
you.
right.
It's essentially a written statement in which the signer or the affiant verifies that the document is true and it differs from sworn oaths. So the relevant parties must sign them instead of swearing them out loud. So it's
Right.
essentially an oath, and an oath is the most important thing you can do. Okay, so you're basically you're swearing on oath, but as a written statement, voluntarily made, um, and it's administered by a person who's authorized to do so by law, right? And you would say, "I am a free man," you know, or woman, and that you don't you're not a part of this system.
Yeah,
I've got
because
a
don't forget,
whole
I
yeah,
had to swear the oath of allegiance, so I
yes,
have had to sign on the dotted line to essentially give my life to the Queen.
yes, and I mean that would be an affidavit as well because they're basically written documents that gives a truthful version of facts, events, etc., sworn under oath in court. In this case, it's written. Okay.
for 4D, 4D.
Mm.
When you were discharged, does that still apply after you've been discharged, or is that for life,
But
regardless of
you
whether
must
you're
have been
serving
reading
or
my
not?
thoughts. You must have been reading my thoughts. I was just sat here thinking, so any soldier will say that we keep that till the day we die, but that's our sort of just what we do. Well, legally, when I signed the oath of allegiance, I can't remember a line in there that said anything like while I'm in the armed forces I will. So I'm going to assume you've tickled my thoughts. I'm going to have to get into this tomorrow now. I'm going to assume I signed my entire life over to them.
Yeah. I mean, but again, that implies that you should, even if you're not serving anymore, you should be entitled to all benefits that a serving serviceman uh, gets as well. So
You
yeah,
know,
does
it's
that
a
make
very
sense?
interesting conversation. Yeah, no, it's a very interesting conversation. I kind of know exactly where my oath of allegiance is, but it's under some boxes. It will take me some time to get to it. But not only that, I'm going to look into it because it's just an interesting conversation. I don't know. I'd love to challenge that in court as to sort of saying, you know, I'm a civilian. I have been for some time. Again, going back to the whole slavery thing, I'd like to retract my oath of allegiance. Even I wouldn't want to do that because I do love my country. But anyway, as a conversation piece, yeah, it's interesting.
Mm.
Because we swear to the Queen and the country. That's another, you know,
Yeah.
distinction. It's not just the royal family. We kind of we swear to uphold the country.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
presume when it says you swear to the Queen, we obviously don't have a Queen anymore. We now have a King. Is it assumed that that just carries over
No, the line
to the
is
head of
actually the line
to the
is
head of
actually I
state
swear.
rather than you swear to the head of state rather than the
No,
actual.
the line is I swear allegiance to the Queen and all her heirs. So
Oh, okay.
and now it'll be to the King and all his heirs. So it covers anyone that's the royal family, basically.
You swore allegiance to bloody Harry. You poor fella.
Oh,
Harry and
honestly,
Meghan, you swore allegiance to them.
Yeah,
honestly,
but
when you're
yeah.
older, you realise what you. I mean, again, I was 6. I'd only just turned from 15 to 16, and I took a pen and signed my entire life over to a woman I'd never met. Absolutely, it's
Yeah,
crazy, really.
it is in a sense, but then again, I mean, I love my country of England, so yeah, I get it. I totally get it.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely, and
it's
that's
kind
the other side of it. Just for the sake of this conversation, I was saying all of that, but I'm very proud. I'm very very proud that I did that. I do love my country. I do love being an Englishman, and I do love our background, and to be able to say that I signed my life to my country. Yes, I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I agree with that, but I think it's kind of
Double edged sword.
we're all proud to be English. We all love our country and its tradition and everything like that. But what is that exactly? Because that also encompasses the people who run the country. That also encompasses the state and the monarchy. And if they go off the rails, which they obviously have, and it's kind of like, okay, your allegiance to your country still stands, but your allegiance to the state and the monarchy maybe don't. So
Well,
where's the
that was all sorted out during our civil war, and because of what happened uh, at that period of time, is the reason I wasn't allowed to vote while I was a soldier. So while I was a soldier, my vote went into the government of the day, meaning in my time when there was about 300,000 soldiers, whichever was the government of the day automatically got 300,000 votes, because after the second after the civil uprising in this country, it was deemed illegal for any soldier to take arms up against the royal family. So if even if
Oh.
so even if Parliament, it would be a very hypothetical, but if the government asked the army to take up arms against the royal family, it's not legally allowed to happen.
so
Oh.
just to be clear, so the last election, all of the armed forces, their vote would automatically have gone to the Conservative Party. Yeah,
Correct. It's another
and the
thing that
next
not
election,
many people know about, but and I
yeah,
don't know if that
and they,
law is still in place, but that's what it was for me. Yes.
Wow.
well, to me, it would make much more sense for all serving military personnel just to not have their vote count at all. So they're not going to any party. That would be much more reasonable, in my
Mhm.
opinion.
I know, and that's again, that it just shows how corrupt our country is. Nothing that we see is real.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I've
But
I've just
very very
yeah,
quickly,
yeah.
I'll say I
Yeah, go
do
on, please.
slightly
Yeah.
agree. Sorry, very very quick. I'll just say I do slightly agree with it, because you kind of you have to make sure that the army, in a lot of these sort of third world countries, the army will just take up arms against whoever's in power. And so it's a good thing in this country that we shouldn't be able to have that situation come up again.
Yeah, but surely, yeah, but that would still stand even if you weren't allowed to vote at all, rather than it automatically going to the ruling party.
Yeah, I think that would. Yes, sorry, that part of it, you'd be right. And I'm not actually. I've always believed that 300,000 votes went to the government of the day. No, that is what they told us. Yeah, no, but maybe it is that way now. I don't know.
Yeah,
Mm.
interesting, really interesting, actually.
Yeah, do you know, in military, and it is specific to this country because of the fact that we sort of started America, New Zealand, Australia, all the our military laws are very interesting. I think we spoke years ago about maritime law, civil law,
Yeah,
but you've also got
yeah,
military law. And people
yeah,
forget military law is very, very powerful, and
yeah.
it's stooped in such tradition, like stopping a civil uprising and things that have gone on in hundreds of years past.
Yeah, that's
That would be
that's
the,
yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah,
yeah, that I guess would be equivalent to the American was it habeas corpus they have over there, where they're not allowed to use the military against their own civilian population, except in times of insurrection or foreign intervention.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it would be interesting to look up all the ins and outs of our civil war law with the soldiers and the royal family. It'd be interesting to see what all the different ins and outs of it were. Excuse me.
yeah. This
Mm.
is also complicated, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
I've just got the document about affidavits, and it's basically a written statement from an individual which is sworn to be true. It's essentially an oath to what the individual is saying is the truth, but it has to be declared publicly. Otherwise, it has no lawful or legal standing. So that for the document to become lawful, it must be filed with a courthouse and ready to be put on the record. Uh, Once filed affidavit is out of court testimony, but it must be put on the court record by the person who's sworn to it if it were to be used as evidence. And the person who wrote the affidavit must be in court, right? No
Mm.
witness, no affidavit. And affidavit is essentially an oath. An oath, you know, is the highest thing. It's pretty much the highest thing. Um, to break it would be considered shameful and dishonorable to violate your word. When people say, I give my word, if you violate the word, violate the oath, it would, in times past, make you an outcast to the rest of the people within the village or town, meaning you could no longer be trusted and people wouldn't do business with you. So the affidavit you write has to be lodged with the courts in case you're brought to before that court. The affidavit you write will be to declare you as a free person. And it has to be done very, very carefully, and it has to be witnessed by a notary. But it is a way out of the system, we believe. Okay.
Yeah, a way out of the system. The thing is, the whole thing is part of the system, and it shows how important this country is. Affidavits, as you're talking about there, and we were just talking about the oath of allegiance, and I've
Yeah.
just popped something here on the side of me. And the oath of allegiance, I didn't know this, but the oath of allegiance was performed to King Edgar at 944. So we're
Whoa.
talking over 1,000 years of precedence for the oath of allegiance. And people forget again how stooped in history our great country is.
I know.
Wasn't
That was from
wasn't King
944 to 975. Amazing.
Mm,
King Edgar? Yeah,
Mm.
I was sorry. You just King Edgar. I kind of thought that he may have been the first official king, but I think that date. I think the actual English royalty predates that. So maybe I'm wrong.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of in dispute because England as such just gradually became a nation from a series of regions. So
Mm.
Yeah, wealthy landowners. Basically, wealthy landowners. The wealthiest landowner became suddenly one day became the king, and then
yeah, 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 yeah.
royalty was born out of some
I,
rich geezer with a lot of land.
I know, I
No,
know.
no,
That's
no,
how.
no, no. No, it wouldn't have been. It definitely wouldn't have been money. It would have definitely been the strongest back then. Definitely.
Yeah,
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 that
yeah.
also probably came with governing a large amount of land, I would imagine.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
land was given to you. I mean, in East Anglia, we have after the Norman invasion, the Normans were very efficient. They went around the country. We had Domesday Book as well, of course, which was one of the first examples of what could we call this? A census. Disguised as a census, it's really a way of finding out how many people were around and how much money you could extract from them and how much land you could take from them, etc. But in East Anglia, in Suffolk, Roger Bigod was granted. He has a castle in where is it? Where that blooming ginger-haired singer comes, Framlingham. Yeah, I think it was Framlingham. I may be wrong, but anyway. So this was just given. This was given to them, the Norman invaders. You know, Bigod is a famous, or Bigod, I think he's pronounced actually. It was very famous. There's even a cheese named after him at the moment. So, you know, he was the big cheese, wasn't he? He was the big cheese.
Boom, boom.
Aye, aye.
And
Yeah,
interestingly, that King Edgar that we were just talking about, he was known as Edgar the Peacemaker because apparently during his whole reign there was no attacks from the barbarians, as they call them. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Vikings. There was no. So he must have had some kind of. He must have had some kind of relationship with them, and he stopped them raiding us for his whole time that he was king of England.
Yeah, interesting. A sort of kind of Donald Trump of his time. There wasn't any war.
Yeah, I mean, just to play devil's advocate, he may also have been Edgar the Appeaser, because that would be another route to stop things like that happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, yeah.
We have to consider all angles as thinking people. Yeah. So interesting, isn't it? So affidavits, yes, you lodge it. You try to understand it. I have the websites. It's a
So
lie.
it does seem it does seem that there is, even though everything is contained and produced by the system, it still seems there is a way to navigate through it. It's just very, very complicated and involves a lot of twists and turns, and also being very, very educated on the ins and outs of it.
Yes, exactly. This is very true. This is what we are finding out. English common law as such has been a bit degraded. So that's where Sovereign Project has been set up. And also this idea of affidavits, it's also gaining traction. It comes from Australia, but it's still valid. It's valid in this country. It's valid in all countries with common law systems which run parallel. So we can use this. It's still there. You know, case law still exists, of course. Except it's been a bit degraded by other forms of law. But yeah, it's a valid course of investigation and interest, and potentially, I mean, we can tell that something weird is going on when you look into the trusts, which are in Channel Islands, which I've talked about, and you can find them. There's money put in our name as trust. I've told you about this.
You said it a few times. Yep.
I haven't done this yet, but people I know have done this. Mates in Stan in the Park have done this and got money for cat food. Huh. You know, it works. It works.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear any further information on that, if any, if you come by.
So this is one way. This is one way out of it. One way, and it is a bit complicated, of course. But we're not, we're not entirely unprotected from the ravages of these people that are determined to destroy the country. They're determined to destroy it. Why are they doing this? You know, well, there are a lot of reasons, but they are doing it.
Yeah, because they're being controlled by globalist interests who have no interest in the country as a sovereign nation. That's why.
Essentially,
That's probably the antithesis to their whole idea or plans. They want to do away with sovereign borders and sovereign nations. So that kind of makes sense in a way.
yep, absolutely. So we have to become a kind of nationalists, who are demonized. But if we want to do this, we have to look at what we can do within the borders as they still exist, just about, you know.
Yes, people generally need to stop outsourcing their critical thinking, because the whole notion of a nationalist now is always used as a criticism. Oh, you're a nationalist. Oh, yeah, that's a bad person. Whereas just to take a couple of steps back and look at it from a common sense point of view, it's just natural. It's just normal to be a nationalist, surely.
Of course
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Of course it is. You know, I mean, it's okay when some countries fight for national sovereignty. That's supported, isn't it? You know, like liberation
Of course.
struggles. You know, when let's pull this out of my brain. When the Portuguese had the so-called Carnation Revolution in 1974, which unusually was led by the army. It's one of the few examples of a successful and peaceful revolution which was instituted by the army, the Portuguese army. And it was peaceful as well. But anyway, they divested themselves of their colonies, such as Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, Cape Verde Islands, various other colonies. And this was all supported, you see, that these countries were to have national sovereignty. They weren't going to be colonies. Okay? This is all good. People say, oh, the Palestinians should have their own state. And this is supported generally. But when other people say, like English people say, oh, we're a nation, they go, oh, no, you're not.
Yeah, exactly. It's a two-tier system at work right there. It's okay for Palestinians to be nationalists. Even in the UK, it's okay for Scots to be nationalists. They've got their own accepted party, the Scottish National Party. It's okay for the Welsh to be nationalists. It's okay for the Irish, but not the English. We can't be nationalists.
That
We
tells you,
celebrate.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we celebrate in England. We celebrate St Patrick's Day. Okay, the Irish National Day, but we don't celebrate St George's Day. The English that's very much frowned upon and looked down on.
There we go.
As being racist.
There we go. You know, and it's nice that we celebrate St Patrick's Day. The Irish people are our friends. You know, they're our neighbours. They're good neighbours, and I hope we're good neighbours to them. But why? What is this thing about English? Oh, the red flag of St George. Oh dear. I mean, it sort of says two things to me. One, it says a despisal of working class people who generally feel strongly English rather than, but respectful towards Welsh, Scottish, Irish. You know. Secondly, we don't have a National Assembly. It seems to me that the government that's squatting in Westminster is essentially a kind of English Parliament, but undeclared. So they've got the best of both worlds. It's an undeclared English Parliament, because how can it be when you've got devolved assemblies? But we English people don't have a representative assembly ourselves. You know, so it's kind of like the colonists. It's kind of like we're the colonists, aren't we? Well, of course we're not, because we're ordinary people. But you know, it's a weird situation. It's a weird situation. You know.
Yeah, can you picture this? Imagine imagine Tommy Robinson comes out of prison and he starts the English National Party. Can you imagine the breakdowns people would have over that? But there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. There's the Scottish National Party. If he comes out and starts the English National Party, anyone that joined that party would be called a far right Nazi crazy person.
Of course.
Yeah, it's implied connotation, isn't it? But I think maybe this whole imbalance between England and the rest of the British Isles or the UK has probably come about because England used to be so strong, and so it was in a position. It felt it was in a position of strength, and it could allow the Scots, the Irish, and the Welsh to develop these nationalist ideas, and we didn't need to because we're England and we're strong and we control them anyway, one way or
Yes.
another.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
But
saying.
now England,
Yes.
yeah, but now England has been completely degraded and undermined, and now there's a real threat against England.
Yes, I
Um,
think that's what
I,
I'm saying. But essentially, yeah, I'm essentially saying
I mean,
that.
I am actually not against Scottish nationalism at all. It's like if Scotland wants to be its own independent country, go for it.
yeah.
I don't mind that. The same with
No.
Wales, same with Northern Ireland. If Northern Ireland wants to reunite with Southern Ireland, go for it. I
Yeah.
don't care. Do it.
Oh yeah. God,
Um,
yeah.
I just
It's
I just want England to be strong. That's all. I just want England to
that's
stand
right.
up for itself.
That's right. Exactly the same. I mean, the whole Northern Ireland thing has caused so much horror, so much bloodshed, so much pain. If it joins with the South, um, with the will of the Northern Irish population, it's up to them to decide. It's not for Westminster to decide anymore. They have assemblies, Wales and Scotland as well. They want to vote to become independent sovereign states. That's fine. That would be good because it would make us, it would empower us to say, well, we're a country as well. So shut up.
Yes.
Stop calling us, racists and. So where's our assembly? Where is our assembly then?
Yeah,
Okay.
it would add some much needed definition to England and the English. I think we're kind of
Exactly.
lumped in. Everyone around the world knows us as the British, the Brits. No one knows us as the English anymore.
Well,
We're British.
I don't know. You go to Spain and we are los ingleses. They don't really use los. They very rarely, except in official documents, they say what is it? Reinas Unidas, United Kingdom,
United
or
Kingdom,
yeah, Reinas Unidas.
That's not English.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's UK. That's UK.
Yes.
You that means UK in Spanish.
Yes. Yeah. So that kind of sort of backs up what I was saying.
Does yes.
I mean, I think I could be completely wrong, but if the Spanish see us as Los Ingleses, there may quite possibly be more negative connotations attached to that than positive ones.
Possibly,
Because
but
of
don't forget that Spain is a riven country as well. It's a country of again very similar to the UK, except a little bit more complicated. Even it has Catalans who don't think they're Spanish, who say they're not Spanish. There's a Catalan movement. There's Basques. Basques are kind of the Northern Irish of Spain. They fought a armed battle for sovereignty of the Basque region. There are Galicians, Valencians, even
I mean,
Andalusians are
yeah, I
all
mean,
you know.
I have a friend here in London who's Basque. He's from a small town not far from Bilbao in the Basque region, and he's very much he doesn't really consider himself Spanish.
Yeah.
He allows people to call him Spanish because that's the accepted terminology, but in his heart he's Basque. He's Basque. He's not Spanish.
Yeah,
and they have their own language as well. The Basque and the Catalonians do. The
yeah, they
Basque
do.
language is very interesting. It's very interesting. There seems to be no way to trace the origins of that
No,
language. It seems to
no,
be
no, no.
a very unique language on its own.
No, there's no real sort of idea about where the Basque language came from. It may be very, very ancient.
Yeah,
And there's
and
no,
we're all
you know,
sorry, yeah, and we're all old enough here to remember ETA, which
yeah,
was a Basque separatist terrorist, well, quote unquote terrorist movement, which has now been subdued for the most part. But yeah, back in the 80s and 90s, are very active.
yeah, uh, yep, definitely responsible for some terrible, terrible things.
Mm, yeah, they were the equivalent of the IRA, effectively.
That's what I'm saying. It's essentially so Spain. That's kind of interesting. You have other movements in France, such as the movement for Corsican independence. Uh, you have Belgium when you've got Flemish and French speakers, dueling it out. So it's not unique to this country. What were you going to say, 4D? That sounded really interesting.
I was going to say that I thought I would argue that all of the common folk of Europe distinguish between Scots, English, and Irish and Welsh quite a lot, actually.
I agree. They know the difference. They're not ignorant. They know the difference.
I was
Or
also
not.
going to say,
Not all of them, but some of them do. It definitely.
it's coming up to 10 o'clock, so I was going to kind of round it up, but I wanted to quickly say, because I think one of the biggest pieces of news out of America this week we haven't even discussed or talked about, but I was just going to say what sounded like a ludicrous idea from Trump when he said he was going to own the Gaza Strip, and I think a day, 24 hours is a great amount of time to realize he's absolutely serious about this, and people are already moving on this as if this has been written up for some time. What do you guys think of the idea of Trump buying the Gaza Strip and turning it into the Riviera?
Well,
Yeah.
as far as that whole scenario goes, I'm not biting on any of it for the time being. I don't know. I'm not saying I believe or disbelieve anything, but it's kind of just something to keep an eye on and not really come to any conclusions right now.
Yeah, isn't it a kind of grandiose bluster? I mean,
Maybe.
it does concentrate minds, though, and you do think, well, hang on. I mean, I really like left field solutions to problems which appear to be intractable, because the Israelis and the Palestinians are never going to get on. We have to be honest about this. There's too much water under the bridge. Both sides hate each other, but both do deserve to live in peace. Gaza Strip is that little area. I suppose it could be done. I don't know. It seems a bit mental.
Well, that's it. He wrote Art of the Deal, and what you were saying there, I suppose that's it. As we know, he's a very intelligent man, and he's clearly very good at business. And I suppose he sat there and thought, right, they both hate each other. We can't ever change that. And I suppose from my simpleton mind in regards to him, he sort of sat there and went, well, I suppose money. They both like, right, fuck it, we'll just buy it and build Vegas there. It worked here in America, fuck it.
Yeah, that's what I think, actually. Yeah,
It's one of those so
Yeah,
outside the box. He's so
It's
outside the box he can't see the box anymore,
Yeah. It really is outside the box. I mean, in a sense, it's sort of. I'm thinking, hang on. I mean, when you look at, I think I said this last week. There are a number of countries that have gone sort of, kind of Islamic, if I could put it that way, which aren't necessarily Islamic countries. Um, uh, they're pluralistic countries like Lebanon, which has all sorts of people. I mean, the Palestinians are not Muslim necessarily. There are Christians there. There are also Jews there, but there are Christians. There are quite a lot of Christian Palestinians. So, how do you solve a problem like Palestine? There must be a way of solving it, but it has to be out of the box. Oh, it's going to be one state solution, two state solutions, UN coming in. Well, hang on. Why not just develop it and make it a beautiful resort? I know.
Yeah,
it's mad, it's mad, but I don't know.
From the simplest of terms, I have Bronze on one side of the road and I have Viv on the other side of the road. Viv hates Bronze and wants to stab him every time he sees him, and Bronze hates Viv and wants to stab him every time he sees him. And I come along and I say, well, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to build a fruit machine in the middle of your road that everyone else is going to spend money on. I'm going to give you, Bronze, 40% of all the takes from this. Viv, I'm going to give you 40% of all the takes from this fruit machine. I'm going to take the 20% off the top. And all of a sudden, both of you have got a reason to look after that fruit machine on your street. So therefore, even though you hate each other and want to stab each other, suddenly the money means that you actually say good day to each other, or you come up with an idea of Bronze is going to watch the machine on Monday, Viv's going to do it on Tuesday. Do you know what I mean? It's amazing how that can just break a situation down.
Yeah, that's really nice. I really like that analogy.
Yeah,
I love that analogy.
It is. Yeah, it's a nice idea, 4D. But as far as I'm concerned, as long as Viv carries on writing Vogue on poetry, no amount of money is going to make me want to look after that fruit machine.
Yeah, of course. Well, on that note,
and all joking aside, ultimately, that's probably where it would get to in that situation. I think you're right. Someone would say, I don't care how much money you're going to make me. I still want to kill them.
Yeah.
It's going to take time. It's going to take a long time. But it's got to be set on the road at some point or another. And maybe Trump has looked at it and said, look, everything that they've been trying to do for whatever 50 years is obviously not working. So he's got to try something different, completely different, something out of the box, and that's what he's trying to do. And it, there's got to be a way forward somewhere, and nothing else has worked. So it looks like Trump is just trying something else, and it may work, but it's going to take time. It's going to take time for all of that hatred to heal.
Things can happen. Things can happen, though. I mean, look at Northern Ireland. I know horrible things still occur, but Northern Ireland is kind of it's sort of normalized. It used to be like the mad uncle in the attic if you were Republican, if you were Irish in the Republic of Ireland, and this thing if you were English or UK, you just think, oh God, would you just shut up for a minute? Ulster says no. But hang on, whoa. You can't keep on saying no, when the other side is saying, something contrary and you're going to be each other's throats for the rest of time. You have to break that impasse somehow. And as Trump is doing, it's a bit out of the box. Okay, it's crazy. Yeah. But we need out of the box thinking to solve these things that seem intractable and unsolvable,
Exactly.
But I think we're looking at it very two-dimensionally ourselves, because I think, again, if they've already kicked the deep state out of the Middle East, we can assume that the Middle East was the hot point for the deep state to keep war going around the world. If Trump and his world team have already kicked the deep state out, what he's saying is only a cover story for the fact that they're now going to move into, all the countries are going to move into the area and rebuild it after 100 years of absolute slaughter. And I think, because even when he was saying we've already got places to move them all to while we redevelop, and it's going to take many, many, many years to redevelop the place, I genuinely think it's all of us are looking at it two-dimensionally. We're not realizing that the fundamental changes in the world are much deeper than we perceive possible at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
As I said before, I think that the deep state exists. There is, you know, Israel is not just a single thing. You know, there's factions in there, and the deep state is very much part of that. So maybe taking the deep state out of Israel, and also whatever control it has over the surrounding Arab nations, Palestine, etc., etc., maybe that will make a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, it can't go on like this. They hate each other. I don't know how to solve that. I don't know how anyone's going to solve that generational hatred.
Well,
You know,
we have to solve it, because I think that hatred is in every country for different people. That, you know, you're right, and it's on a much bigger. I know what you, and I'm not trying to belittle what you're saying, but I think
no,
the fact of the matter is there's hatred all over the world. That's been it's not real hatred. It's been made up. It's been given to us, taking it on. And so when we work out our own little hatred problems here, the rest of the countries will do their same as well. But and you're right, it's going to be a long, painful journey.
I mean,
Well,
it can be done. It can be done. I mean, look at Rwanda. There was an actual genuine genocide. There are 1 million of people in a particular ethnic group. I mean, it's like when people say, "Oh, blacks are all the same, aren't they?" No, they're not. No. Africa has got the largest genetic difference of all the continents. And there's an awful genocide, horrific. And they've come together again. You know,
I think education is the key, because no one is born prejudiced. No one is born hating a different group of people. That is drilled in to kids. So the education, that is where it's really got to. That's the crux of it for me. Education, and then just to maintain that. And once you get a few generations in, that hatred will start to subside.
Yeah, and also get rid of the leadership. Almost all leaderships are corrupt now. They love war. War drives the deep state. It drives the machine of state. And so many examples of that. So how we're going to do it, I don't know. I just don't know. But all the warmongers have to go. I know that for sure.
Well, I think that's beginning to happen. There are green shoots with regards to that. So we shall see.
We sound very much like left wingers.
That doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't
mean anything at all.
I know, but that's a satirical point. You know, the left wing have given up on all these ideas that we're discussing at the moment. They've given up on it all.
Yeah, I mean, well, there is value to them. It's just how they're carried out, you know. And you need to stop greed and all of the bad human traits derailing these things. That's all. They need to be kept on track. You know, with goodness of heart, if you like, for want of a better expression.
Yep. And I take your point. We need to get rid of the left-right paradigm. It started in the French Revolution, and that's way over 200 years ago, and it's run its course now. We now have a uniparty system, especially in this country. So, you know, and in most of Europe, almost all of Europe.
Well,
yeah, should we wrap it up there, fellas?
We've been going for over 2 hours. Excuse me.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah.
Well,
let's pray for peace, you know, and just hope that this nonsense stops.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a great
time for a
change. With peace.
Yeah, it's time. It's time for a change, a big change. You know, can't go on like this. Can't.